Been coming to St Agnes for something like 30 years. I've stayed here so many times, it feels incredibly familiar. My first ever trip here was on board the Spirit of St Agnes. So when I heard this year that the winter service might not continue, it caught me slightly off guard. Not because I know what it's like to rely on it through winter, I really don't, but because it made me realise how easy it is to come back somewhere familiar and assume it's always been the same. Once I started looking properly, some of the things I thought I knew turned out to have changed rather more than I'd realised. Porth Conger is a good place to start. This is one of the parts of St Agnes I know best. The quay, the boats, and of course the Turk's Head. I've been here plenty of times over the years, and you don't need to be much of a detective to work out that it wasn't always a pub. There's a slipway immediately outside it. It was a Coastguard boathouse originally, but of course the Coastguards left and the building stayed, and eventually became the Turk's Head. And it's now one of the places I associate most with being on St Agnes. People are still sitting here watching the sea, just as the Coastguards once did, only now for rather more enjoyable reasons. From Porth Conger, it doesn't take long before the island starts to feel much more exposed. Out towards Wingletang, the land opens right out. The sea is never very far away. And beyond St Agnes are the Western Rocks and the Atlantic beyond. On a good summer's day, all of this can feel incredibly peaceful. But for ships approaching Scilly from the west, it was also a very dangerous place. Which explains something else I've walked past for years without really questioning. The lighthouse. I mean, it's obviously a lighthouse. And standing here looking out towards the Western Rocks, it's not exactly difficult to understand why they needed one. But I'd never really stopped to ask how old it was, how it worked, or even why it stopped working. It was built by Trinity House in 1680, making it one of the oldest lighthouses in Britain. And originally the light came from a coal fire burning inside the tower. And for ships approaching Scilly from the Atlantic, that fire was the warning. Of course, over time things improved. Coal gave way to oil and the lamps and the optics got better with time. But eventually the most important change wasn't actually inside this lighthouse. It was further out to sea. In 1858, Bishop Rock Lighthouse began operating among the Western Rocks themselves. And then in 1910, Trinity House decided to replace the St Agnes light with a new one at Penninnis Head on St Mary's. And so the following year, after more than 230 years, the St Agnes light was switched off. The tower, of course, is still standing, and from up here it's very easy to see why St Agnes can feel so timeless. There's another part of that maritime history that's still very much alive. Shah. She was built in 1872 and was bought by the St Agnes pilots the following year. 150 years later, she's still being raced, and I happened to see her in action this year.
good bonnet.
Come on, Islander!
So everyone got to do one, haven't I?
The race started at Nut Rock and headed towards Briar. Most of the boats took what looked to me like the obvious line, but Shah didn't. She headed away towards Tresco, and for a while, I genuinely couldn't work out what they were doing. It looked wrong. Then it became obvious they were using the tide. Shah picked it up, came back across in front of the rest of the fleet and won the race. A boat built in 1872 for a job that no longer exists. Still racing and still winning. Back at Porth Conger, Spirit of St Agnes was still there. For most of the time I've known Scilly, boats like this have simply been part of the enjoyment of being here. You get on one, you go somewhere lovely, get on another one later and come back. I've never spent a winter on St Agnes, so I can't begin to tell you what it's like to live here when the weather turns, the visitors have gone, and you still need to get to St Mary's. Because in winter this boat does a very different job. It's how people get to St Mary's for secondary school, for appointments, for shops, and for connections onwards. This year though, the future of the winter service has become uncertain. The people running it have said it's no longer financially viable to carry on as before. But maybe by the time you're watching this, a solution will have already been found. I really hope it has. But hearing that it might stop made me look at St Agnes just a little bit differently for a moment. I'd always come here as a visitor. What I thought about much less was everything that has to keep going after we've gone. And I think I understand a little better now how much sits behind the St Agnes I come here to enjoy.